was a twisty-turny journey, similar to Andrea for me, but I'm going to wind back slightly more because I think the topic of South Asian culture is, and growing up as a British Indian Punjabi in Birmingham, plays a huge role in how my career has progressed till date. So I'm from a very spiritual community, based a lot of values based in service, in seva, selfless service. And so from a very young age, I was involved in tree plantation drives, in community service, and it's only now, I guess, reflecting on my career so far that I've established this connection, that's actually where the seed was sown for me. And I never thought during university days that psychology, it's always interested me as a subject, understanding what motivates people, what makes them choose what they do, their backgrounds, how their heritage impacts. I never thought that could intertwine so well with community impact, social impact, sustainability. And I had a very cliche penny drop moment during university. I was doing a global challenges module in Southampton, and that's when I knew, I was like, this is the space I need to work in. So it was more of a pivot using kind of the voluntary background that I'd had volunteering from teenage years, then into my first kind of role helping in the charity sector, then into more corporate. So I was at Currys in their sustainable business team. And then that's led me now to consulting. And the reason I wanted to shape that and to share it is because I think the thread and when understanding the values of what led me to that is really important in realizing, I guess for me, why South Asians for Sustainability was essential. Very early on, this is in my career, I used to go to different events, conferences, talks like this one, and it's so full circle because the majority of the people here are of the ethnic minority, or global majority rather. But I was usually the only woman of colour in the room or person of colour at conferences. I'd look around and I'd be like, surely this can't be it. Particularly when you think of the climate impacts that, as Andrea mentioned, like it's happening right now. We can see the headlines in Punjab, Pakistan, Himalayas, the insane floods. That's what our communities, what is happening right now in our ancestral lands. So I was like, how is this possible that I'm this person, I'm early in my career, and there's no one else representing what's happening in such a huge, when there's so much happening in other parts of the world, South Asia included. I wanted mentorship, and I wanted a community where I could bounce these ideas from. I could understand, these are the barriers that I'm facing in a corporate career now to my progression, and that community just didn't exist. There were activists, there were amazing grassroots NGOs doing incredible work, but nobody tying everything together. And so that's what really brought South Asians for Sustainability about. It was during pandemic, the height of it. I was networking with lots of different South Asian people online, finding out, is this a community space that you would value? And everybody agreed that, yes, this is, a huge thing that we felt is missing. Alongside that, in 2018, the stats in the UK was that the environment sector was the second least diverse in the UK. And I think till date, that's still the case. So simultaneously knowing that was an issue that needed to be addressed, we started off South Asians for Sustainability, very small spotlight series, similar to what we're doing today, talking to people about their professional careers, whether it was social or environmental climate impact, and just getting their journeys out there so that there was an understanding of these are the ways that you can enter. If you're earlier in your careers, these are the opportunities available to you. And then from there, we've kind of grown into, parliamentary talks, events, mentorship, career workshops, and we continue that. And I say we, it's me and another South Asian student who's joined me, but I do this alongside my consulting work. And it all ties together. I think purpose is a really strong theme, and that's what continues to push me forward. I also work closely with students organising for sustainability. I don't know if anyone's heard of them, but we launched a race report, which essentially asks the environment sector charities, funders to share their workforce data. This is now, we've got 3 years, year-on-year data to show the racial equity issues, what the systemic changes are needed in the UK, and then using that data we can bring about more meaningful collective action. So definitely check them out if you haven't heard of them, and the race report specifically if this is something that interests you. It's a really interesting question, and I was sharing with Andrea earlier, I'm actually part of University of Nottingham's upcoming research in eco-anxiety, in how South Asian and Black communities are experiencing climate change, how it's impacting their mental health. That's kind of a key research project I'm working on. I have a conference there tomorrow. So I think when we think of it from a South Asian values perspective, I personally go back to cultural roots that I've been raised with, and the aspect of collectivism, but also a faith-based structure. And through this research, one thing that's really come up and shone through is how people use their faith, the element of service or having a greater purpose that goes beyond them, feeling like they're giving back, and also knowing that they've got family, community, friends who are in South Asia at the moment, who are at the brunt of these impacts. Being able to feel empowered to do something about that. And I think when we think back to collectivism and continuing that heritage of honouring Mother Earth, which I think is so rooted in South Asian culture from decades and many generations, then it starts to feel more empowering for a lot of our community, particularly in the diaspora, where they can lean into meditative practice, storytelling as a community to transform what feels quite scary and daunting into more kind of agency, action, and taking things forward. So it kind of transforms things into more of this is my privilege, being in I'm in a relatively safer, more secure environment where we're not at the brunt of impacts just yet. So what is my duty to my ancestral lands and the people? How can I take things forward and bring about greater impact? So I think culturally and values-wise, all of that ties in really well. And that's key themes actually that we've seen coming through the research as well. Yeah, again, super interesting and really relevant to at the moment. I didn't mention, but I've growing up in a Punjabi family household, I grew up with a lot of devotional music, and throughout my childhood till date, I've maintained being a singer-musician alongside, which has been a form of therapy for me, energetically, but also has allowed me to bridge multiple industries where typically you would find science, corporate, charity sector, like very siloed from creative arts. Having this network and broad community has allowed me to advocate even more and lean into the people that I've managed to build connections with. And a key example I wanted to highlight is a dear friend, Nandita Shankardas. She is this weekend leading on at the Greenwich Docklands Festival, I think it is, and it's called Roots to Rise, and she's a classical dancer, multiple forms in ballet and Indian classical dance, and she's using movement through her artistry to connect. The whole message is using classical Indian dance, but again honouring soil and honouring Mother Earth and the connections and journey back to her heritage in India. So I think this is just one example I wanted to bring as almost like a case study. This is one of many artists, many creative folk in the UK, South Asian diaspora, who are using their creative forms to connect. Because I think we can look at headlines, we can look at data, we can look at statistics, but again, bringing it back to what will shift people into agency and intentional behavioural change is that emotion and that empathy and connection. And I think being able to do that through the arts is one of the most powerful ways, using the strength of our culture and our food, our festivities, our fashion, whatever it is that you connect to, utilising that to really bridge the gap and bridge where people might feel, oh, I want to do something, but I just don't know how. So that emotive part really comes through. Yeah, so it's a big question, and I think it's been a part of my identity journey, to be honest, to understand, again, what is my responsibility, what's my role, what's my duty, because they are, again, instilled in us from such a young age. And I think being part of the diaspora, whether you have come to the UK and studied, or whether, like myself, you've grown up here, there is a dual perspective and an understanding that's much more deeply rooted of what it means to be growing up in the UK, or being here in this space, working in the industries we work in our roles and careers, but also being able to hold dear what things are like on the ground and in South Asia, in regions in the global South, and being able to connect to, for me, I know my family's in Punjab right now, really struggling, very firsthand and directly. And when you're in corporate spaces, when you're in these jobs in the UK, bringing that passion is something I've constantly had feedback on throughout my career. It really comes through. People hiring me, or in any situation, they're like, we could tell you're really passionate. And I think that's not to say that if you don't have South Asian heritage, you're not going, obviously everybody has their passions and things they care about, but it shines through. And I think that's the role we can play in bringing their voice to spaces where it matters, like where funding goes. Being able to listen to what are the actual needs rather than a cookie cutter approach. We think this is going to be really helpful for this community in South Asia, therefore let's channel funds directly to them. Or it may not be that simple, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. And I feel as South Asian in the diaspora here, we can be that voice where sometimes those people are not heard, and where those community needs are not put forward. Therefore, climate resilience is really difficult to build. The capacity for them to thrive despite all of the environmental issues and challenges is really hard to attain. So I think, it's fundamentally building that space to be more inclusive, holding people to account. I constantly do it, and I may have not been disliked in a lot of my roles throughout my career so far, but I am vocal, and I think we have the power, and we're protected to do so. We have the privilege to raise our voice and to have that, hold that space, and to be able to communicate what the needs are. So I think you can navigate through the system with holding your cultural heritage and the importance and urgency of everything as well. And hopefully that wasn't a rambling, because hopefully you can tell as well, my passion comes through, as well as my Brummy accent, which hasn't washed out when passion shines through. But it's been really lovely to talk, and hopefully you found something useful in that.